Hello, welcome to the Proposing a Consortium Study video. I am Michael Otto. I am professor in the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences at Boston University. I am also a member of the Exposure Therapy Consortium and the Mechanistic Behavioral Research Consortium. These two organizations share a lot of procedures. They're sister organizations. And so what I'm about to say applies to both of them. Let's get going here. Why use the consortium approach? Well, I'm going to take a quote from the first paper on the Exposure Therapy Consortium organization from Jasper Smits, who's the founder of ETC. And ETC aims to facilitate team science devoted to questions surrounding mechanisms, moderators, and associated procedural variables useful for efficacious clinical application of exposure therapy. That's the domain of interest. Let's get to the really important part. ETC can promote targeted, large-scale research collaborations across the translational research stages that have the potential to yield better data faster. Better data faster is crucial. This is, to me, the value of the organization, where each of a number of sites do a small amount of work so that together you get a replicated, larger sample study. Let me give you an example. ETC number 2 is a virtual reality exposure study, targets public speaking anxiety, and looks at the moderating role of state and trait positive affectivity. Why do this study? Well, to my read, the findings are highly variable about whether positive affectivity prior to exposure is or is not a useful predictor of extinction, exposure therapy outcomes. Now, relative to the state positive affectivity, there's much more consistent but preliminary findings that trait positive affectivity, really trait emotionality, measured at baseline can successfully predict treatment outcome for exposure therapy. Well, these findings to me raise the question, is trait positive emotionality a better predictor of the potential benefits that positive affectivity can bring to exposure therapy, namely because it is present during exposure as well as during the consolidation of the exposure after the therapy session, for example, and during the period of reconsolidation, let's say over the next week or two after the session. With trait positive emotionality, there's likely to be more trait positive affect at all those time points. So the question is, given this variability in the literature, it'd be useful to have a fully powered trial with automatic replication across sites. Terrific way to proceed scientifically. And it would be really great to do this without the need for funding or without the need for the delays that come with the search for and acquiring funding. So let's talk about adopting a consortium approach and some of the steps and some of the thinking behind this process. Number one, need a valid condition. Speech anxiety is prevalent and a valid issue in college students, making college students a relevant participant target. Speech anxiety is also treated by VR exposure. Great. One thing about VR exposure is that it offers clean replication, the same video across sites, while also removing the need for the clinician effort within the study budget. The clinician is in the VR recording. And of course, site costs are minimized by reducing effort. And also, you can get into this study for a VR device of about $220 if you don't already have one on site. But to pitch this study, you need to understand some things. How hard will the recruitment be? We need recruitment feasibility. You need to understand whether the single session VR as produced works to the degree that you would expect, and that the moderators are acting as we hypothesize, low efficacy for the prediction of state positive affectivity and higher prediction for trait positive affectivity. Well, all this was worked out in the context of one of my students' honors thesis done during the fall and written up during the spring semester. And then we pitched the study after updating all the methods, make sure we got everything right, just as after our semester ended. So to pitch the idea, proposals go to the Rigor and Reproducibility Committee, and that's later forwarded to the Research Steering Committee that makes the actual decision. And then you present the proposal to consortium members in an email blast. So let's talk about some details in that process. Use the proposal form and provided feedback on the form, because we are only the second study, to the Rigor and Responsibility Committee, and then met with the Research Steering Committee. I have to say I am a member of that committee, where we try to keep things formal to really understand their process. Resulted in getting approval. Again, we did this right after the end of the semester, early summer, get approval. Here's what Jasper Smith sent the database listing current members and their interests. It appears that there are 40 members who can run a student-focused study without funding. Now, of the membership, there's a lot of people on clinical sites who don't have the undergraduate population that we're targeting. So I have a sample size of potentially 40 that I can pitch to. So I sent an email blast soon after getting this, just before the end of June. And in that, I provided all the information on the nature of the procedures, the effort needed on site, etc. We had a pilot that started at Boston University over the course, really started almost immediately, but over the course of 3 weeks, because some sites said, give me another week to think about it. We had this response. The sites started coming in. Very exciting. They're sending a letter of intent that they really think they can do the study, and that they're willing to abide by the idea that you have to get a minimum number of participants in order to be part of the planned data analysis. All in all, we had a total of 13 collaborating sites across the world, 6 in the US, 3 in Australia, 1 in Germany, 1 in Hong Kong, 1 in the Netherlands, and 1 in Singapore. Very, very pleased by this collaboration. Well, the process continues, working out all the IRB docs, sending them out to all the sites. Now, ideally, we do a deferral to Boston University. Boston University does not do deferrals to international sites. And also, the project was ultimately judged to meet exempt status, which blocks us from the deferral as well. So each site is getting their own IRB, and we're collaborating. Furthermore, we have the process of getting on clinical trials. There's an agreement that all these studies go on open science framework with ultimate sharing of the data. Finally, in September, I'm recording this on the day after this date. We prepared, we tested Red Cap Library, went back to the R&R committee to make sure that it's performing as they think it should. And in the next few days, we're going to finish just cleaning up the VR films that works on different devices. And then we'll probably send a final video just showcasing us running a participant. And people will be running, we anticipate, by next week. So fully ready to run by early in the fall semester, with the idea that project day is going to be completed by May 2025. Now, I'm anticipating we're going to be done running by December, single semester study, but turns out the Australian sites have their larger psychology classes, groupings and recruitments in the spring. Therefore, we're going to run all the way through spring and have data due by the end of May. So I'm very excited to run this project. And I think it may be the largest exposure therapy project ever conducted. And we have enough sites that we can do split half replication, in essence, run 2 studies at once, see if we get the same result in both. So we're going from what might have been thought of as a pilot to a study that really will be definitive, I believe, about this issue in the field. So given all that, please consider piloting and proposing your own study in the consortium. Spread the word to your colleagues about membership as well. And there's another membership video out here, should you want to watch that.